What's up, guys? It's Danny
and Charlotte
from the Lassercast, and we are taking a break from the Scream franchise because we covered, we covered Screams 2, 3, and 4 with a week to go, and now we're just sitting and waiting for Thursday night, 7 o'clock. We have our tickets to see Scream 5 or Scream 2022, whatever you want to call it. So we figured in the meantime, we would finish up a franchise that we started at the end of last year, the Child's Play franchise. And we finished watching this morning. We watched back-to-back Curse of Chucky from 2013 and Cult of Chucky from 2017. And what did you think of these? Hello?
I didn't really like Curse.
You didn't really like Curse?
Too much of the same thing.
You see,
they were in the house for... This movie was actually really short, in my opinion. The whole movie was spent in the house.
See, I liked that aspect of Curse of Chucky. I thought it was interesting that the whole movie... First of all, this is like the first Chucky movie since Seed, which was a full-on... mostly a comedy with some, gory violence thrown in there in the tradition of Bride. Curse, though, I thought was actually a pretty decent horror movie.
I thought it was okay. The only thing that really annoyed me was before Barb took off the makeup on Chucky before he got his stitches.
Yeah, so Cult of Chucky, I'm going to confuse these movies a lot. Curse of Chucky from 2013 starts, and Chucky looks very, very different. You're like, I don't really like the way he looks in this movie. But then, as the movie goes on, you realize that it was actually kind of makeup where he was covering up the scars from the Bride / Seed of Chucky days, which actually made the end of the movie, I think, much better. What I was saying about the house is... first of all, I thought the house was kind of creepy. The fact that it had that old-fashioned elevator. So the main character of the movie is Nika, who is ironically played by...
Oh, Fiona? Fiona Dourif.
Yes, who is, of course...
Brad Dourif's daughter.
Yes, so Chucky's actual daughter, Fiona Dourif, is now the star of this series.
Don't kill your daughter.
And she plays Nika, who is wheelchair-bound, and she lives in this huge... house with her mother, and it has this like old-fashioned elevator that feels like it would have belonged in a Dario Argento movie from the 70s. It kind of feels like the elevator in Deep Red, if you ever saw Deep Red. And so there's that elevator, and then there's that attic with like that staircase with the windy stairs. I thought the house was really cool. It reminded me a lot of the house from The Changeling or other kind of Gothic style horror movie houses. The house with the clock in its door. Yeah, whatever that movie was called. So I kind of liked that it was all in this one setting, especially because like the movie starts and you're like,
it's just
it was a little confusing because these are characters we never met. And
why not just make this movie before the original?
Well, you can't. Maybe Don Mancini came up with this idea later on. I mean, the whole idea is we don't really understand why the movie is called Curse of Chucky, or really what Chucky's even doing there until much later in the movie. With about 20 minutes left, we get this kind of flashback scene that gives us all the exposition, tells us like answers every question we had. How does Chucky end up at this house with this mother?
How does he know everybody?
Yeah, with this mother and her wheelchair-bound daughter. Why is he out to get this family? It turns out, do you want to tell the flashback story?
So Brad.
Well, this is actually the first time that you see Brad Dourif on screen as an actor since the very beginning of the first movie, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Well, except in pictures, like Bride.
Yeah.
The flashback was that while they were watching little videotapes, everybody was noticing this guy in the background, and everyone was just saying, "Oh, he's just a neighbor."
Yeah, when Nika's mom was pregnant with her, because Nika's mother is the first one to die, which we later find out is, of course, by Chucky. And her and her sister are watching old home videos, and they see this guy standing in the background while Nika was still, a fetus inside her mother's womb. And it's Charles Lee Ray. It's Brad Dourif just hanging out in the background at like a big neighborhood barbecue.
Yeah.
And we find out that we're left to assume, I think it's very obvious, that Chucky killed Nika's father.
Yeah.
And then kidnapped Nika's mother while she was pregnant to like be a family with them, and is actually stabs Nika's mother in the stomach, which we find out is what caused Nika to be paralyzed, which is why she's in a wheelchair. And then I guess Nika's mother had called the police, and the police coming is what leads to the
beginning of the original.
Yeah, that opening scene in the original where Charles Lee Ray is running from, I think his name was Officer Norris, but Chris Sarandon, who we met.
Yes, I know.
And
That's how we know.
He runs into the toy store, so it's like
I knew they didn't remake that scene, because the difference between the face of him running away from the house, and then him running into the toy store makes it like his face just gets a tiny bit younger.
Yeah, Brad Dourif looked a little bit different in 1988 than he did in 2013. And I was looking up on IMDb, which is the website tells you all about the movies.
Blame him.
No, they did have him wear like a lot of makeup, and they lit the shots in certain ways to make him look younger, even though he was obviously much older. Mm-hmm. So Chucky ends up killing everybody except for Nika, who survives, and except for Alice, who is Nika's niece, a little girl. We're back to the story arc, kind of like the first movie, where Chucky is trying to, get his soul into a
Why would you though, like, do it into like a girl when, like, I thought Tiffany would want to do that, but like.
Well, he had to get out of there.
I mean, yeah.
And so we find out in a post-credit scene that Andy Barclay is still alive. At the very end of Curse, Nika brings up Andy and says that like Chucky has he's upset that he never got to kill Andy. And so the end of the movie is Tiffany comes back and mails the Chucky doll to Andy, but Andy's ready for him and blows his head off with a shotgun. And so here we are. That is the transition into 2017's Cult of Chucky.
We had to miss the most important part.
Yeah. For some reason, we rented this on Vudu, and I don't think it included the post-credit scene.
Yeah, it didn't.
We had to find that separately. But the 2017 Curse of Chucky, I think, nope, I mixed it up again. Cult of Chucky, I think is super fun.
And during this, I was like, why is it called the Cult of Chucky?
Yeah. So first of all, it's in this movie where we really see that Don Mancini just loves a bunch of these actors, and he's going to reuse them in a bunch of roles. For instance, I noticed in this movie that the actor who plays Dr. Foley, who's really like a B-level villain in this movie, Michael Thoreau, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but he is also Nathan, Lexi's dad, on the Chucky series, which now that we finished the Chucky movies, all 7 of them.
He looks familiar.
He also kind of looks like McDreamy a little bit. He looks like the cop from Scream 4.
He does.
Except he had a beard in this movie.
Oh, yes.
So Nika was blamed for all of the murders in Curse of Chucky.
There's two things there's one thing I agree with the other people, and one thing I agree with Nika. the thing I agree with the other people is that who's going to believe a doll did it?
Well, yeah, she's claiming, obviously, it was Chucky. The cops who show up to the house at the end of Curse of Chucky are like, okay, you think a doll is a killer, you're obviously crazy. So she goes to jail, and she ends up going to a minimum security mental institution where we get some fun stuff, because you don't know this. Brad Dourif's, like, the role that made Brad Dourif famous before Child's Play was one of the greatest movies ever made. It's called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. And in this movie, it's a movie set in a mental institution, and it focuses about all of the patients, and you get to know all the patients. And Brad Dourif, when he was really young, was one of those patients. So now it's his daughter is in a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest type setting, which is so meta. Like, that had to be like something that made Don Mancini laugh as he was writing it. Like, oh my God, I'm going to put Brad Dourif's daughter in this setting that is eerily reminiscent of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. What did you think of the other characters? The other mental patients that she was with?
Well, not to lie, I kind of liked the girl who got her head sliced off.
Yeah, there was one girl who all we learned about her was that she had set a fire. But she is on to Chucky, but it backfires on her, and her death scene is pretty damn cool.
And I also kind of liked the girl who kept thinking Chucky was her son. Yeah,
there's another patient who obviously had murdered her own child, her own baby, who takes the Chucky doll as her own, like, surrogate child. I like the older woman, Angela, who thinks that she's dead, and she has this amazingly funny interaction where she sees Chucky walking and being Chucky in the hallway, and her first instinct is to go, "Can you see me?" And Chucky goes, "What? Is this really happening?" Like, Chucky is freaked out by her, and I thought that was really funny.
Sometimes I scare myself.
But I really liked this movie a lot. I thought this was better than Curse.
This was totally better than Curse.
And then there's, again, so to Charlotte's point, the reason this movie is called Cult of Chucky, so I don't know if you know this. You probably don't.
I don't.
But Don Mancini wanted to do the idea of multiple Chuckies way back in part 3.
Ew.
And
you mean that horrible movie?
Part of the reason why part 3 is so kind of paint by numbers is because they didn't have the money to do the multiple Chuckies, and the studio was just like, just do another one. And he was like, all right, fine, I'll make another one. So he had this idea for a long time. So Chucky says that he found a new spell on, like, voodooforidiots.com. Yes, that is the way they wrote this into the movie, that allows him to split his soul. So we like paused the movie and we were trying to figure it out, right?
I was like, so he could split his soul into multiple.
He put his soul into Alice at the end of Curse, the little girl who survives. Then the puppet was mailed to Andy, and Andy has that head stored. He actually, like, sits and talks with a severed head of Chucky, which makes Andy a little crazy in his own right. Then Alice put another Chucky soul into another doll that Tiffany drops off. And then that Chucky doll
is the head.
Put the voodoo curse into the Chucky doll that Dr. Foley brought to help Nika. And then Andy brought a Chucky doll with the terrible haircut.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we like that there's 3 Chucky puppets in this movie. 4 if you include the severed head that Andy has.
Oh, yeah, technically.
And they all look very different. They all have their own personalities.
Thank God. I was not going to go like, but Chucky's one.
Yeah, I think, not to spoil it, but if you like multiple Chuckies, you're going to really like the series, because the series, which is streaming now on Peacock, the series has multiple Chuckies. It's a direct continuation off of this movie, which is great.
Well, so there was 4 Chuckies.
Yeah.
The head that was still at home, at Andy's home.
Terrible haircut Chucky. That's 2.
The normal looking Chucky. And the one with no arm and crazy hair.
Yeah, he kills one of the women in the...
With the screwdriver.
Oh, yes, but he also kills the woman by literally shoving his arm down her throat. Which breaks his arm off, yeah.
Oh, that was... I keep getting confused. That was the doll who choked. Yeah. Okay.
So the movie ends. Andy kills one of the Chucky dolls, but ends up getting locked in prison in the institution because...
He punched it out.
The Chucky dolls possess Nika.
Oh, yeah.
Which gives us this great moment where Nika, who for 2 whole movies now is wheelchair bound, stands up because as Chucky, she's no longer paralyzed.
Yeah.
And she brutally murders Dr. Foley, right?
Oh, yeah. She's...
Ugh. Steps on his head until it's mush. And... that's she drives away with Tiffany, who, speaking of Chucky's, we find out there's a Tiffany doll in the back of the car.
Yeah, who's cracking up.
So we have the 7th Chucky movie ends
of Tiffany
with Tiffany driving away with Nika, who is possessed by Chucky, and a Tiffany doll in the back seat. All of them alive. She even said, wait a minute, this is the last movie? Evil wins? And I was like, yeah, evil certainly does seem to win.
Evil does not die tonight.
No. Well, that's different franchise, but I know what you mean. But it sets us up perfectly for the series. I genuinely think you're going to love the series, especially if we rewatch it again and we don't have to watch the commercials, because I was reviewing this show for... this channel. You can go on the channel, watch all of my reviews for the Chucky series.
Spoil it for me.
Well, you don't have to watch my videos. And the other, we also have a video up where Charlotte and I reviewed and ranked parts 3, 4, and 5. I think what will be fun, since we still have some time before we get to Scream on Thursday night, we're filming this on Saturday, so we have 5 more days until Scream. Maybe we'll do a ranking video of all 7 Chucky movies. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, that's going to be good.
Okay. I have a spoiler for that video. I think we're both going to have the same movie at the very bottom of the list.
You mean our least favorite?
Yes.
Spoiler alert. Yes, we are.
Part 3.
Yes.
Yeah. And I don't even think it's that bad. It's just not as good as the rest of them. But anyway, this has been Danny.
And Charlotte.
And this has been our review of Curse and Cult of Chucky. Hope you enjoy it. Hope you go on our channel and watch our Scream videos. Yes. We have covered all 3 Scream sequels. Yes. And we are going to be there live in the theater Thursday night for Scream. And then Saturday, 1 week from today, when we film this, we're going to be doing a live reaction with Pete, who is seeing Scream next weekend.
Yeah.
And you guys will let us know what you think about that movie. Let us know what your favorite Child's Play movie in the franchise is. Tell us, and then see how your ranking of the films match up with ours.
Just go 1 equals this movie, least 7 equals this movie.
Yeah. And then we'll do our ranking video in a couple days, and you'll see that video later this week. So again, Danny,
Charlotte,
give our channel a like and subscribe, and we'll see you very soon.
Bye.